lock in because it's gamer-in-chief here, Loki Online, back to make a top 10 most anticipated indie games of 2026. I myself, as one does, love to look up new indie games that are coming out, and I noticed that this year a lot of these game journalists don't even play games. For example, this website links Hollow Knight Silksong as a roguelike, and I've noticed that game journalists more than ever just don't even know how to beat the Cuphead tutorial, dude. So I'm here to make an indie games list for gamers by gamers. Here we go, let's just get right into it. Starting us off at number 10, we got a game called Replaced. First of all, this game has some of the most beautiful pixel art I've ever seen, and it's literally like a 2.5D cyberpunk. I just recently stumbled upon this game, and I was just kind of blown away by the trailer and just how involved and in-depth this world is. This takes place in an alternate 1980s America that went through a nuclear catastrophe, and it's all about uncovering the secrets of a big corporation through the eyes of an AI trapped in a human body. And from what I can understand, the AI was created by this corporation that you're investigating as the AI. You know, it's a lot to take in narratively, and it kind of draws some parallels to real life right now, you know, involving AI and all that jazz. So yeah, it's kind of crazy stuff. You might be wondering, what does the main gameplay look like of this game? And it's actually a platformer, which I didn't really expect by looking at the, trailer at the beginning, but I can't wait because platformers are one of my personal favorite genres. This game is expected to come out on March 12th of 2026. Up next at number 9, we have the only online PvP game on the entire list, and it's a game I recently found called Engine Fall. So close your eyes and imagine with me for a second, a post-apocalyptic world where the only remaining life on the planet exists on an extremely long mega train. Yeah, it's exactly like Snowpiercer, which is amazing. Ever since I watched the TV show of Snowpiercer, I thought this would be an incredible idea to turn into a video game or some other form of media. And of course, an indie dev took it and ran with it and made it the perfect mix of a game, which is just, it's survival crafting and it's an extraction shooter, which is just chef's kiss, moi. That being said, I'm not super sure how they're gonna mix survival crafting and an extraction shooter. Like, am I gonna go in with my friends and be able to leave whenever I want? Or are there gonna be server wipes? Is this gonna be like an Arc Raiders situation, or what can I really expect here? I'm not super sure. Either way, you can tell from the trailers that this game is gonna have prox chat, so it's gonna be a great time. You know, any game with prox chat is a W for me. Then again, this one does not have an official release date yet, but I am expecting it in 2026 due to the incredible trailers that I see already. For number 8, we're throwing it back to the 1930s with Mouse PI for Hire. And if I recall correctly, games with a similar 1930s styles to this have a really good track record. How many times am I gonna mention Cuphead in this video? But this game reminds me of that, okay? I'm kind of a bit of a noob in the boomer shooter genre, but this one I could see myself getting really into, because this one looks really interesting, and it features the main character who's a mouse and also a detective named Salt Pepper. And this guy is super cool, and he smokes cigars and is also voiced by Troy Baker. Wait, no, this can't be right. You're telling me this mouse named Salt Pepper is voiced by like one of the greatest voice actors in gaming ever? And it's the studio's first game. How did they manage to pull this off? I don't get it. What? And there's not really much else to say about it besides it's just a city of secrets, and there's a bunch of cool guns and a bunch of cool investigations you have to do. I don't know. Anyway, I cannot wait to play this one on March 19th, 2026. It's looking like it's gonna be a bit of a banger, so I'm ready for it. Number 7 is an incredible new top-down pixel game called Mina the Hollower. And this is from a game studio that might be familiar to a lot of you indie fans, which is Yacht Club Games. You know, the studio that made the classic Shovel Knight series. So you know this one's gonna kind of slap as well. And I'm loving this modern 8-bit aesthetic that this game has, and the combat looks pretty satisfying for the retro style it has. This is a type of story game that I could see myself just sinking hours in until I finally beat it, similar to like last year's classics like Silksong or Expedition, or even older ones like Cuphead. I can't stop mentioning Cuphead in this video, man. Either way, you know, you tell a guy like me it's got like a retro style with a bit of a modern touch to it, you know, I'm gonna, my ears start perking up. This game looks really interesting to me, and I can't wait to just explore and get lost and find secrets and do cool battles and find trinkets. I'm all in on this game. Unfortunately, this does not have a release date yet, but I am fairly confident that it is going to get a release in 2026. Number 6 is one that I've been incredibly excited for quite a while, and it's called Erosion. This game is a Western-style open-world roguelike, and it has an incredible story. Basically, your daughter has been kidnapped, and you have to go and try and get her back. But here's the catch, every time you die looking for her, a decade passes, and you come back to life 10 years later. And in this game, you have to conquer many challenges and try to find your daughter before it's too late, and you can see her growing up throughout the decades, and depending on how many times you have died determines the age at which you find her. So if you take way too long to find her, it might be too late. Now, I'm especially excited for this one because in terms of open world games that are also roguelikes, we haven't been getting very many good games. The only one that comes to mind is really Noita, and I really started to fall in love with that game last year. But now I'm absolutely itching and I yearn for more open world roguelikes, and this one might just deliver on that promise. And it's not often that you get a game like this that combines action, gambling, racing, and it just seems like it has a lot to offer. Either way, this one is set to come out in Q2 of 2026, so I will be really looking forward to this one. Number 5 is a beautiful looking 2D side-scroller named Kyora. And you see, I'm kind of biased because I already know this game is going to be special because it's from the same team that created Core Keeper. And if you ever played that game, you know that this team is locked in and they have the sauce when it comes to open world survival crafters. But don't get your panties in a bunch because I know this kind of looks like a Terraria reskin, but I expect this to be a fresh new take on the Terraria style. And you know, hopping into co-op with your friends in a game like this is just going to be an absolute banger of a time, so I cannot wait to do that. And you can also play with up to 8 players co-op, which is insane. That being said, this is another one that does not have a release date, but this was announced like way earlier this year in 2025, so I'm expecting it to come out sometime in 2026 by the way it looks. Number 4 is a sequel to a little game you might have heard of, and it's called Enter the Gungeon 2. Now, I will say that there is a very small amount that we have seen from this game, but it does look like the team is taking a very brave leap and taking the art direction in more of a 3D style. Now, at least in my head, there's kind of a lot of mystery surrounding this game, so I don't really know what it's gonna be like, but I can assume that it's gonna be really good because it is from the same people who made freaking Enter the Gungeon. Are you kidding me? That game is a banger. So I mean, if you're skeptical about this, I have my concerns as well. I don't blame you, but I trust that this game is going to be extremely fun, and I really don't think the devs would take such a risk like this if they didn't think it would expand upon the style of Gungeon and add to the fun of the game. And you already know I'm more than excited to hop into this game regardless of whether, you know, the 3D style ruins it or not. I don't think it will. I think it'll be all right. And unfortunately, I know, don't roll your eyes, this one does not have a release date either, so this one might be the one I'm most skeptical about coming out in 2026, but I'm pretty sure it's going to like mid next year or maybe towards the end of 2026. Now bear with me because number 3 is a crazy one and it has sent me through the 7 stages of grief just to bring itself back from the grave. Of course, the game I'm talking about is Hytale. Hytale had started development back in 2015, and then flash forward 10 years, development for Hytale had been executed back in June of 2025, but months later, in November, the original creator had acquired the IP from Riot Games and brought this game back to life, man. Although some trailers have been getting some recent hate online, which I think is kind of silly and unwarranted, and people are calling it Timu Minecraft or something. I do not care because I've been waiting for this game for way too long to care about people's opinions on the internet, and I just can't wait to hop into this thing. And what I'm most excited about is the fresh new content that's going to be in this game. And you know, not to just compare it to Minecraft, but at least we won't have to deal with a mob vote every year, you know what I mean? And at least they're probably going to add content, unlike Minecraft, who just doesn't seem to want to add content ever. That being said, I will be playing the early access to this game on January 13th, 2026. And I know it's just an early access, it's not the full release, but I'm still counting it on this list anyway, man. I can't wait. So this is the part of the video where I started to realize that just about every freaking game on this list is a sequel. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. There's like only a couple sequels, but it's funny that there's a lot of sequels to indie games that are coming out in 2026. Anyway, number 2 is Slay the Spire 2. And anyone who has played Slay the Spire knows that the release of Slay the Spire 2 is going to be a huge huge problem. Not because we're concerned about a sequel, not because we're afraid it's going to be bad or anything, because Slay the Spire fans know, and say it with me, because it's going to take over our lives for months and maybe years. And seriously, the more I think about it, the more I think you just can't go wrong with the sequel of Slay the Spire. From the trailers I've seen so far, it just looks like the same game, but like better graphics, new enemies, and just infinite more content. And I just really can't wait, because out of all the deck builder roguelikes, this is the only one that's really just like grabbed my attention fully. That being said, there's not really much else to say about this one, and the reason it's so high up on the list is because I just know for a fact that they really can't mess this game up. As long as they don't do what Darkest Dungeon did in Darkest Dungeon 2, I think it's gonna be okay, because that sequel was just not as good as the first one. I don't think that's going to be the case though. Slay the Spire 2 is coming March 2026, so be ready for that one. And finally, for number 1, we have a game called Mugenics. This was a game announced all the way back in 2012 and stopped development in 2016. It then restarted development back in 2018. This sent me through a roller coaster of emotions, and I really never thought I'd see the day that this game gets released, but it's finally coming in February 2026. This game is by Edmund McMillan, you know, the guy who made The Binding of Isaac. And of course I am very biased because I do have 800 plus hours in Isaac, but it is my list, so I get to be biased, duh. Anyway, this game is going to be insane and chaotic because it's a game about building the perfect cat army through breeding and then using the cat army to defeat your enemies in turn-based combat. And of course, the thing I love about Edmund games is the hundreds and hundreds of hours of content that you can have even after you've beaten the games. And I'm sure this one's gonna have elements just like that, because Edmund did say that he's like 250 hours into his save and he still hasn't beat the game. And then even after you beat the game, I'm sure it's gonna have replayability still. I'm also really excited to see all the celebrity cameos that Edmund has been mentioning online. It seems like there's gonna be a lot of celebrities voicing their own meows into the game, which is absolutely insane because I'm just expecting a Northern Lion one, a Germa one, and I even saw that there's a Ricky Berwick one. That being said, Mugenics will be finally releasing February 10th of 2026. As you could probably tell, I could keep rambling all day long about video games, but that is my list of indie games that I'm excited for in 2026. And hey, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to an excited nerd ramble about video games for like 10 minutes or so, I don't know. Also, be sure to leave any games that you're excited for in the future. It doesn't matter whether it's 2026 or 2027, so on. Let me know in the comments what you're excited for. And make sure to subscribe for more little silly stuff like this and leave a like on the video. Thanks for watching.